Give yourself permission to disappoint people. One of the biggest burdens of being a people pleaser is that you unconsciously make other people's emotional reactions your responsibility. When you finally allow yourself to disappoint people, you're essentially giving that responsibility back to its rightful owner. And that feels incredibly freeing. A recovering people pleaser often spends years managing other people's expectations, moods, comfort, opinions, and disappointment. The problem is that this creates a life where you're constantly asking, what will they think? Will they be upset? Will they still like me? Will they think I'm selfish? Instead of asking, what do I want? What do I need? What's best for me? You become so focused on avoiding discomfort in others that you create constant discomfort for yourself. That's why allowing yourself to disappoint people can feel like taking off this heavy backpack you've been carrying for years. You realize disappointment isn't actually an emergency. Many people pleasers treat disappointment as if it was a crisis. Someone's annoyed, it's an emergency. Someone's upset, it's an emergency. Someone thinks you're selfish, it's an emergency. Someone doesn't get their way, it's an emergency. But when you start setting firm boundaries, something surprising happens. Nothing. The world doesn't end. People survive. Yes, they may be annoyed, they may complain, they may even sulk, but they survive. And once you witness that enough times, disappointment loses its power over you. You begin to realize someone being unhappy with me doesn't mean I've done something wrong. That realization is actually life-changing. Many recovering nice girls are secretly exhausted because they're constantly performing goodness, not genuine kindness. When you allow people to be disappointed, you're no longer constantly trying to prove you're nice, accommodating, easygoing, or endlessly patient. You stop performing. You just become yourself, and you discover who actually respects you. One of the most painful lessons people pleasers learn is that some relationships only work when they're overgiving. The moment they start saying no, people get angry. The moment they create boundaries, people accuse them of changing. The moment they prioritize themselves, people call them selfish. But this reveals something important. Some people didn't actually value you. They valued your compliance. There's a huge difference. At the heart of people pleasing is often self-abandonment. You know what you want, you know what you need, you know exactly what you're uncomfortable with, but you override yourself to keep someone else happy. And if you do that for years, you can become disconnected from your own desires altogether. Allowing people to be disappointed is often the first time a recovering people pleaser consistently chooses herself, not because she's a bad person, but because she finally understands that her needs matter too. For many people pleasers, there is a hidden belief underneath everything. If people are disappointed in me, I'm unsafe. Maybe growing up, love felt conditional. Maybe approval had to be earned. Maybe being the good girl kept conflict away. Maybe being easy to deal with became a part of your identity. So disappointing people doesn't just feel uncomfortable, it feels dangerous. When you start disappointing people anyway and discover you're still loved, still okay, and still worthy, you break that old programming. You realize, I can survive being misunderstood. I can survive someone being upset with me. I can survive not being everyone's favorite person. And there's an incredible amount of freedom in that. In fact, one of the biggest signs that a recovering people pleaser is healing is when she stops asking, how do I make sure nobody is disappointed? And starts asking, am I willing to disappoint others in order to stop disappointing myself? And that question can improve her life drastically. Alright ladies, that is all for today's video. If you'd like to keep up with more of my content, you can follow me on Instagram and TikTok at Reina Safo. One last thing, always remember to protect the woman you're becoming. I'll see you in the next one.